Alright. This is a hard fight to win.
Listen.
Hello everybody, HollowLeon coming back at you again with another build video. I figured I'd do a PvE one because I haven't done a PvE one in a long time. Another all-around build for really casual play. Wouldn't be too applicable, actually not at all for raids. Not applicable for raids. But a lot has happened since then. We have a ton of content planned for you, more build videos. We're working out some Thief footage, slash a build that we think will be great for ranked, some interesting team dynamics, because now I got my buddy Joe. Say hi, Joe.
Hey guys.
Joe's going to be helping me out with some stuff, and he's also helping me with the guild, which if you haven't joined yet, you should consider joining now, because we're doing a lot of giveaways, and in fact, by the launch, we are going to be giving away 800 gems to a lucky follower, and a bunch of skins as well, some gold. I have one of the new... what are they? The Abaddon skins. I have one of those to give away also. So consider following on any form of social media or here as well. And if you would like to join the guild and be prepared for the next expansion, Path of Fire, when it comes out, I'm going to leave something right here below for you to join. But with that being said, how would you like to have insane mobility as a warrior, insane damage, insane healing, and all at a really simple rate? Doesn't take a lot of upkeep, a lot of skill, but you'll be able to deal damage and stay alive basically all the time. And who doesn't want that? Alright, jumping into this real quick, as always, we will do really quick the style of this character. We're using the bladed helmet, bladed shoulders, what is this actually? The Armageddon breastplate, which you can get this in ore for karma if you don't know where to get this skin. Bladed gloves, bladed pants, and then the Primeval War boots, which is something that you get as a set of armor that's still available in the gym store today if you were wanting that. And then these are Black Lion weapon claim tickets. I used to do a lot of Black Lion farming because you can get such cool weapon skins that way. Yeah, I had lots of time to do all that. So that is how we look. If you really cared, dyes were just crushed bone and emerald and a little bit of shadow abyss. And with that being said, we'll roll straight into this core game build, which hasn't been applicable. Well, I guess they've both been applicable since the expansion. But this build is a lot of fun, and you could probably run it as a Berserker as well if you wanted to. I don't actually have Berserker unlocked because it was one of the few elite specializations I never really cared much for. So we'll start with what makes this build great, which, yeah, is this strength. So in strength, things get pretty nuts. There's a lot of different choices that you can make in this build, and I'm going to give some other options as well, and I'm going to make this as short as possible. We'll start off with strength. Reckless dodge, so you can do damage at the end of your dodge rolls, and you're going to be dodging a whole hell of a lot, and I'll show you about that in just a minute. Physical skills gain reduced recharge and deal more damage. Receive less damage from falling and launch nearby foes when you take fall damage, which I don't really care too much about that. It is nice for running around the world and being able to jump, but I like having my physical skills up when I'm not doing something that's super CC heavy, or if I'm doing like a dungeon or a low level fractal or something. Take Bull's Charge to have an extra CC. What did I have before that? Alright, there we go. But Balance Stance is also great. Alright, moving on. Burst skill restores endurance on hit. That's great. Extra dodging every time you use your burst skill, which will also be quite a lot. And then gain might on critical hit with a greatsword or spear. And this is what's really great. So we actually have double greatsword, and I know a lot of people hate this concept, but if you trait this with weapon swap sigils, you can do some pretty neat stuff with this. So consider that. I don't actually have great sigils on this right now, so you should consider what you might want to do for this instead. But this is where the build gets really cool. So we have double greatsword, so we're going to be gaining might basically all the time. Our critical hit is going to be above 80% once we're fully buffed. And then get a damage bonus when your endurance is not full. Pretty self-explanatory. It should never be full very often, so it's just a flat 10% damage increase. But here's the real kicker. Gain health and endurance every time you apply might to yourself, which is going to be all the time. There is no cooldown on this or this for either of these. And this is where the build gets even crazier, because if we go into how we are traded. So first off, we'll do all Berserker, but then King, or the Rune of the Mad King, just like the other Guardian build. This is going to be applicable in a lot of stuff, and it's actually kind of broken. I assume they will be fixing this in the future, so just be prepared for that. But you can see down there at the bottom, 7 ravens to attack you, or to attack nearby enemies when you activate an elite skill. Unfortunately, unless you were a Berserker, you won't have one with a cooldown that matches up with that 45 seconds for that number 6 on your rune. But 60 seconds isn't that bad, and those birds can hit anyone up in the area. I believe it's a 1,200 meter radius, so it's quite large. It's a very large radius. It can hit up to 5 people, and those are all hitting about 10 times each. So immediately, and I might cut to something here where you'll see, you can get 25 stack of might like it's nothing each time you get to use your elite skill. And also you have ferocity. A little bit extra might, you gain 5 stack of might just right off the bat from using this in the first place. It's insane. Alright, so remember everything full Berserkers. You might want to, if for you, switch out some Assassin's gear for Berserkers instead, and get a just slightly higher critical hit chance if you wanted. So next we go for Discipline. Versatile Rage, gain Adrenaline on weapon swap. That's also pretty self-explanatory, so you want to be weapon swapping constantly, getting weapon swap effect sigils, and then also gaining Adrenaline, and also even removing conditions on weapon swap if you wanted. So run faster while wielding melee weapons. I just love this. 25% movement speed all the time, because basically always going to be using melee weapons unless we're doing a world boss or something like that. You'll switch to your longbow. Weapon swapping recharges faster, so every 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds you want to be weapon swapping most of the time, unless you're in a pretty chill fight. Banners also grant regeneration to allies, and I actually like this because between this, and between the food that I run quite often when I'm just trying to relax, which you should switch this out for something precision-based if you're trying to get as much damage as you want. Because then you'll get more might, more healing, you'll be even more sustainable, and then this for a little extra power is what I have. But you could spec both of these into precision, and probably be getting above 90%. In fact, I will actually buy those at the end and see what our critical hit chance is at that point. But if you don't want the extra healing, you feel like it's already pretty OP, which it is, you can swap to either one of these, whichever is more applicable for you. Deal more damage based on boons. That could be a huge damage modifier. Remove conditions when you swap weapons. You really can't go wrong in this, but I like bringing this to have extra healing on top of extra critical hit chance. Sorry about that. Alright, gain quickness when you strike a foe that's below the threshold. Wow, I like doing this in PvE the most. I'd take something else if you were taking this in like World vs. World or something. But here's another option you could consider. Because the weapon swap is every 5 seconds, you could put an axe on this build and then put something else with it. There's something down here about reflect missiles, and when you reflect missiles you gain might. So if you did an axe and a shield, you could switch to that to do some big hits with the axe. And then pop your shield attack to block some stuff, which will also inadvertently heal you because you'll be gaining might. So that's one way to run it. But this is my super casual, no-brainer, just wreck shit because you have 2 great swords and you're always getting might and healing. So now we go down to defense, which is the final skill tree. Gain toughness while your health is above the threshold. Cool stuff. Can't change it anyways. Increases damage to weaken foes. Striking foes below the health threshold gives them weakness. So you basically another 7% damage increase. You can keep weakness up sometimes, especially if you're running with someone else. But if not, below 50%, you're just going to be doing more damage either way. Gain health based on adrenaline spent, which you'll be getting all the time because this gives you endurance every time you do something. This gives you endurance every time you use a burst skill. And this will give you health. So using your burst as much as possible on cooldown is super important for this build. Lesser endure pain. This is a no-brainer. Take no damage from attacks. You're still susceptible to conditions and control effects. So anytime you drop below 50%, you're going to have a little extra tankiness going on there, and you really don't want either the other one of those. Gain retaliation when you block or are struck by a critical hit. Can't change it anyways, but this would be another good reason to bring a shield if you wanted to change this up. Gain adrenaline when hit. Remove a condition for every bar of adrenaline spent when you hit a burst skill. So not only do you have insane amounts of healing, pretty good amount of DPS, insane might stacking, insane amount of endurance regeneration, you also have insane condition removal. There's nothing lacking in this build for doing any sort of PvE content. So we already talked about this as another option, switching to maybe the axe and the shield, getting a little extra healing, possibly a little bit more damage off if you keep your rotations up and you aren't staying out of greatsword too long to keep that might and health coming to you. So the only other thing I would suggest with this build, super simple, easy, and quick, I'm going to put a little bit in the background at the end of this to show you some sort of fun fight, but you may also want to consider having a longbow on you at all times for doing something, any sort of long distance fights, any map events, large map events, just to stay safe, because having a melee weapon in big boss battles is not always the best. So please tell me if you liked and enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing and moving on to other social media platforms as well. And if you didn't, leave a thumbs down. Also, if you enjoyed this, consider joining the guild. We could use more support. We're all still looking for officers. And I will put the email down at the bottom one more time. And until then, I will see you later.